if you want to make a liniment, you need some alcohol, some liquor. So let's talk about that for a minute. If all the ingredients are dried, you need 40% alcohol by volume or higher. Okay, if it's less than 40%, then it could go bad and get moldy, or things could grow in it. So you need 40% by alcohol by volume or higher. Now in the US, they have this weird thing called proof, which for some reason is double the alcohol by volume. So, this you can see over here, 190 proof actually means that it's 95% alcohol by volume. So don't confuse the proof with the percent. It's really important that you go for the percent. Now, if something is 40% alcohol by volume, that means it's 60% water, basically, or other things, like if there's flavoring in it. So you need a combination of water and alcohol. It's not a case that the higher the percent of alcohol, the better, because some ingredients are extracted by the alcohol and some ingredients of the herbs are extracted by the water. So 40% alcohol, 60% water is, pretty good for extracting and also preserving. But it could be up to maybe 60% or something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly 40. So I already had some alcohol for this kind of purpose, but just yesterday somebody gave me a whole lot of liquor that she had been intending to make liniments, and then she stopped being interested in Chinese herbs and she just wanted to clear out what she had. She had so much. So I have a variety of things to show you. So the one on the left, these bottles generally are 750 milliliters. And this one says 35% alcohol by volume. So that's not quite enough. It probably would be okay. But what I intend to do is I have to do a little math and then mix it with some of the higher percentage alcohol things to get it up to 40 or 45 or something like that. So you can mix the two different ones. By the way, you want really unflavored distilled alcohol. You don't really want rum or something like that, generally speaking, because it's flavored. So what we want is usually clear in color and no special flavoring. So vodka works perfectly. So, okay, we've got this 35% alcohol by volume, which I'm going to mix to make it a little higher percent alcohol. She also gave me a bunch, and that's a Chinese rice alcohol. She also gave me some vodka, which is exactly 40%. So you can just buy, even the cheapest vodka and use this. We're talking about external use. We're not talking about internal use here. And so vodka is generally 40% or 80 proof. So it doesn't have to be a Chinese liquor, but, if I have a choice, I like to do that, just keeping it, traditional if I can. The next one is 55%, this one. 55% alcohol by volume. It says right up there, and all of these are 750 milliliters. I don't even know what this is. But, it looks like we could use it. The next one, wow, we're getting, higher percent. This one is which? It's 62%. I think this is the one that's really hard to find. Oh, there it says alcohol by volume, 62% down here at the bottom. So this is gaoliang jiāo. Gaoliang is some other kind of grain, but this is just a distilled grain alcohol. I bought this brand before. And one time I was in this Chinese, grocery store in line with just a couple bottles like that of alcohol, and no groceries, no food. I just went there to get the alcohol to make liniments. So there was this old Chinese guy in line behind me, and he couldn't speak any English, and I don't speak Chinese, and he just was grinning at me, and he kept giving me the thumbs up, thinking I was, going to have a party with the alcohol. It was kind of cute. The two on the right are Everclear. Everclear, I guess, is a brand, but in the US, at least, people, refer to Everclear, mostly referring to the one on the right, which is 190 proof or 95% alcohol. If you drink that, you're going to die. I mean, it's like way too high. So this definitely needs to be diluted or cut down. But, if you buy a bottle of that, then it's good for about twice as much, however much the bottle holds. When you dilute it, you have about twice as much. So a lot of people like it. It's not available in every state. Actually, even though I'm in California, it's not easily available here. There is a lower percent Everclear. Here's 75.5% alcohol by volume. It still needs diluting. So you have to do some math, and you have to add, distilled water, or at least, filtered clean water to it to get it to the proper percentage. If the alcohol is too high a percent, it evaporates so quickly that there's not really gonna, like the herbal nature after you've made a liniment won't sink in. It just evaporates way too quickly. One person I've taken a class from, Benny Lin, he says that if you want to treat something at the skin level, use a higher percent of alcohol. So that might be more like the 62% one over here. It'll evaporate more quickly, so it won't sink very deeply. But if you want the herbal nature to sink into the flesh, then you should go closer to the minimum, like 40%, and then it takes longer to evaporate, so it has more time to sink in. The final thing I want to say about alcohol is that there's another thing that's used in Chinese medicine, huangjiao, which means yellow liquor or yellow wine, and it's a kind of rice wine that should be 16% by volume. So this is not usable for making a liniment, but it's very often used in powder. Like if, you have da huang and you want it to be alcohol treated, stir-fried with a little bit of alcohol, this is what you use in processing herbs, but this is not what you use for making a liniment. Anything that's 16% won't extract well enough and won't last for a long enough period of time. So that's my little introduction to the alcohol, and then I'm going to make a liniment. This is the first of a couple things about liniment making. So my first recipe will be kind of simple, but I still think it's a really nice recipe. So the liniment I'm going to make today comes from Língshū chapter 6. In Língshū chapter 6, there is a treatment for cold bee patterns, and it is very complex, but the actual herbs involved in it are quite simple. There are 3 herbs. There's Sichuan pepper, there's dried ginger, and there's, ròuguì cinnamon. So I like this warm formula for, when cold is gone in the channels and there's a deep, cold, achy pain. For example, maybe somebody's low back pain that's due to coldness. But the method is too complicated for modern people, and I found that it makes a very nice liniment. I already So I was looking, I have some that I made a long time ago and I can't find it. I hate that. It's somewhere in my house, but I can't find it. So I can't show you what it looks like once it's aged because liniments are aged. But I'm making 2 jars of it, 2 bottles of it, because I'm going to give 1 bottle to the person who gave me all the alcohol. And I'm going to make the second one now. I already have it made up. These 3 herbs are put into small pieces. So basically what I do is with the Sichuan pepper, I put the amount, it's equal portions of each. I put the amount I want to use in the mortar and then I pestle it just enough to break it open, not enough to make it into really tiny pieces. It's in tiny enough pieces already. Then I break off some of the cinnamon until I have the right amount, and the dried ginger, equal portions, as I said, of each. And these 2 harder things, bigger things, I put in the grinder and just give it a little whirl. I'm not trying to powder it because if you powder to make a liniment, it doesn't strain very well and it stays cloudy. So I just want to break it into small pieces. Maybe you can see these are, just small chunks. It's not a powder. They're probably about the size of the Sichuan pepper pieces. And so once I've done that, then I'm ready to make the liniment. This, I had made a bunch of it a long time ago, so I'm using up what I already had, but that's how it's done. And so now we're going to make the liniment. Okay, the procedure, oh, my cat is crying. The procedure is really pretty easy. It's easier if you use a wide mouth jar, but I don't, have a lot of extra ones, and I do have some extra liquor bottles. So I've got a funnel that has a hole that's a little bit big, and these pieces are all very small. So I'm just gonna, you also want to generally use a wide mouth jar if you have larger pieces so that you could clean the jar back out, but this will rinse out because the pieces are small enough. So I'm just putting the powdered, or it's not really powder, but the ground up herbs in. This one's so simple. I'll make another video of liniment that's a little more complex. Okay. Getting the last little bit in. And then this is, so that was, how much did I make? I wrote it down somewhere. Ugh, I forgot where I wrote it down. Oh, I know, over here. That was 80, no, I don't remember. Anyway, you can see it's ground up so it has more surface area, and therefore you don't need to fill the jar as much with herbs. And now I'm going to pour the alcohol in. This is, I do remember this is like 550 milliliters of 40% alcohol. Okay. This jar came from some other alcohol I used in some liniment. It has a nice little, it's not a cork, but it fits pretty good. So you put the seal in, and I already checked with the other one, this should hold. And you shake it, and you should shake it about 3 times a day for the first maybe 10 days. And then after that, you can leave it in a closet for a long time, at least 6 weeks before you would use it, but 6 months is better, 6 years is even better. So you can just leave it sitting, and then if you need some, you strain off a small amount and leave the rest sitting to continue getting stronger. In Chinese medicine, the longer it sits, the stronger it is. I know in Western herbalism, that's not always the case, but in Chinese herbs, the longer it sits, the stronger it is. An important thing is to make a label. So this says Língshū chapter 6 Cold Bì Liniment. It has today's date, October 8th, 2020. And I wrote on it external use only, although this formula is not got toxic herbs in it, but you know, this is really for external use, not for drinking. Doesn't want to stay, so I'll tape it on better with some, you know, clear tape in a minute. Okay, so that is it. All that's left now is to shake it every so often and wait for it to get stronger.